We are live for UFC Qatar's main event, featuring Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. And this is a big one in the lightweight division. Of course, Tsarukyan a huge favorite coming in. Dan Hooker looks like he's in phenomenal shape. And is there any chance he can pull this thing off? Well, he's going to have to defend the takedowns. He's going to have to make this a stand-up striking affair, much like Ian Gary did against Bilal Muhammad. That's how he got the victory. The fight went his way. Although this is going to be a very much tougher situation for Dan Hooker, to say the least. I mean, Arman is relentless with the takedown game. And really probably the only guy that could potentially take over the lightweight title. I'm not saying he'll beat Topuria, but he's the best option. That's the bottom line. So Dan Hooker introduced, Arman Tsarukyan now officially introduced, and this fight's getting ready to kick off. And you saw in the face-off the other day, Arman Tsarukyan butting Dan Hooker. And Dan Hooker got shoved back, and then, of course, he had to be held back. And we're finally here. Man, and Dan Hooker towers over Arman Tsarukyan. My goodness. How are both these guys 155 pounds? Dan Hooker looks like he's 180. It's crazy. And both guys touch gloves, and here we go. No chaos this time. Dan Hooker, what are you going to do, baby? Better defend these takedowns. And here we go. The crowd's on its feet for sure. In Qatar. And a leg kick already landed by Dan Hooker. Man, the height difference is incredible. And Dan Hooker doesn't look like he's even worried about the takedowns. He should be. And he catches the leg of Arman already. And then lets it go. Big opportunity for him. I mean, the UFC is not treating Tsarukyan with any respect right now after he pulled out of the Islam fight, I believe, earlier in the year. But what this could do for Dan Hooker's career if he could find a way to win this thing, just be crazy. And there it is. Arman shoots him for the takedown already. And he's going to get it. But Dan Hooker right back to his feet. And same situation in the last fight with Ian Gary and Bilal Muhammad. You hold your breath. In this case, when Tsarukyan gets into the body, because he's not likely to let you go. Crowd chant Arman. They want to see a takedown. Dan Hooker remains on his feet for now, and he's going to get out of it, potentially. Ooh, and a nice knee on the way out for Arman, followed by a left jab. Oh, boy. Go, Dan, settle down. Man, now a leg kick landed by Arman. Forget about it. Boy, and Dan Hooker gets a takedown on Arman. Now Arman flips it on him. Boy, and Dan Hooker nearly finished Arman. That's crazy, but now Arman's on top. And rough times right now for Dan Hooker. Let's see what he can do here on the ground. When he goes right to the crucifix, but luckily for Dan Hooker, he gets his left arm out, and Arman's just going to work here on the ground. And this is not where Dan Hooker wants to be. There's no question about it. I mean, this is where Arman spends most of the time in his fights. And normally the crowd would start booing at some point, right? If there's no action. I mean, it's very early right now, but you're not going to get that from Qatar. I mean, they recognize that this is the way and the path for Arman Tsarukyan to get a win. Now Arman's in side control, but Dan Hooker's got his left arm pinned in between his legs. Now Arman gets it out. So here we go. Comfortable side control right now with 1:15 on the clock. And a nice elbow there by Arman. Now Arman puts the elbow in the face of Hooker, and the crowd's loving it. And much like every opponent Arman faces, I mean, once he gets you down, it's like you're not getting back up. I mean, Dan Hooker trying to push off the fence, do anything he can. It's just simply not working at this point in time. So Dan Hooker's got to get something going here. 30 seconds left in the round. Yeah, Dan getting his feet in the fence, being warned already. Now Arman's trying to get the rear locked in. He's not going to be able to get it in time, though, as he lands a hammer. And now he's just going to go to work here, knowing the time's running out on him. So good round for Arman Tsarukyan. It'll come to an end. He likely won the round, but Dan Hooker didn't look bad, right? Dan Hooker did not look bad in that round, but the takedown game is just a problem, right? Arman Tsarukyan able to get you down, keep you there, and there's not much you can do about it. So we've seen this time and time again from Arman Tsarukyan. The question is, how is Dan Hooker going to answer? We've seen Dan Hooker down in different fights, right, and find his way back into it. But Arman Tsarukyan is just a different animal. That's the bottom line. Now, everybody would have loved to see, as round 2 kicks off, everybody would have loved to see Arman versus Islam. But unfortunately, at that time, Arman pulled out of the fight due to back issues, I believe. That's when you have Renato Moicano step in, and of course, he got beat by Islam, and then Islam went up to welterweight. And a nice elbow there by Hooker. The longer it stays on the feet, the better for Dan Hooker. Arman goes right in and lands a takedown. But Dan Hooker sinks in the guillotine. That's going to be nearly impossible to do against Arman, right? Now Arman in a little bit of trouble, but he sneaks out. Man, Dan Hooker had two opportunities. He couldn't get it done. Now he's on his back once again with this time over 4 minutes left in a round. Oh my goodness. So the fight definitely starting to trend towards Arman Tsarukyan. This is why he's a 7-1 favorite. Now he pounds away with the right. It's like, yeah, Dan Hooker has a chance on the feet, but you can't imagine that Dan Hooker can keep it there for long, and that's exactly what's happening right now. But if you're Arman, you need something big, right? You need a finish. You need to do something. I mean, you want to fight for the lightweight title. You're the #1 contender. If you win, yeah, you should get a shot. And we're at that point, we would see Ilia Topuria versus Arman Tsarukyan. And then we would see Islam Makhachev versus probably Ian Machado Gary. And if they can both win those tough fights, would they be able to do it in time to fight at UFC White House, which is what everyone's talking about. I just don't. The timing's not there. We're about 8 months away, so you're looking at like, and then we got the big holiday breaks. You're looking at 3 or 4 months fight, 3 or 4 months fight again, and that's very difficult. And now Arman opening up. Arman's pounding away, and Dan Hooker's just covered up. And Dan Hooker gets a little breather room for a second, and Arman could have finished the fight right there if Dan Hooker didn't push off, because Dan Hooker was just covered up. And some big elbows raining down now for Tsarukyan. And another, and another. And that's what you need if you're Tsarukyan. You want to fight for the title. You need a big finish. And everything you're going through with the UFC right now, you need a finish. You cannot just do this for 20 minutes and get a decision. The UFC is going to find an excuse not to give it to you. I mean, you need a finish here. And Arman knows that he's trying to go for it. He can't get the right leg around to get the triangle. I mean, he's trying. Oh, there it is. He's working it. Oh, boy, this is not good for Hooker. Now he's just got to get that right arm over. And Arman's definitely working now. He's in much better position. And now Dan Hooker's trying to protect him from that, from the triangle, and he does for now. So the triangle was being set up, but now you got Arman in a full mount, and he's got to win the fight right now. I'm just telling you, oh, here we go. Now the triangle's in there. Oh, boy, I didn't see this coming. I thought he was going to pound away because he let the triangle go. And now Dan Hooker's in a bad position, totally defenseless. Oh, no, Hooker's going to tap, I think. Oh, he's trying to create some separation, and he taps, and that's it. Wow, Arman Tsarukyan is going to be fighting Ilia Topuria. I'm just telling you. And the UFC has a reason to keep Topuria and Makhachev from fighting each other because you got two big wins here. As Arman Tsarukyan climbs the fence, and he looked dominant in this one from beginning to end. So now you got the dominant win, right? You got the finish. You got everything in your corner to call for a title shot. Arman Tsarukyan gets the win, big time win, and he's going to move to what, 23-3, I believe, if we can get it pulled up. Yep, he'll be 23-3, submission in the second round for the Armenian lightweight division, one of the best in the UFC.